Hey guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here. Today I want to talk about Goku struggling to lift 40 tons and the inconsistency in that and power scaling. Now, I also want to talk about, before I get into the video itself, I'm gonna be making a new series and I'm gonna be making a playlist for it shortly soon called Dragon Ball Inconsistencies. It's basically me going throughout all of Dragon Ball, from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball Super, and pointing out power scaling problems where it showed the characters to either be a little too powerful or too weak. Usually too weak, because when there's ever an inconsistency when it comes to their power, a lot of times it's, Toriyama or Toei Animation making the characters look weaker than what they should be. And I don't really like that, not only for the consistency fact, but also the fact that since I'm a Dragon Ball fan, I want these characters to be as powerful as possible. And when I see feats that make them look weak, I don't really like it. It always leaves a bad taste in my mouth, especially when you're doing like versus or debating, you're in the versus or debating community and you're trying to argue who would win in a fight. A lot of people, down players, like to bring out these low end feats saying they struggle to do this, or they were hurt to do this, or they were impressed to be able to do this or that, and they use that to argue either that they're not this powerful or contradict other feats that we've seen later on. But that happens throughout all of forms of media. This happens through other anime and manga and comic books in general. We see inconsistencies happening all the time with power, and a lot of times these writers, I feel like they don't know what they're doing when they do it. I feel like a lot of times they're trying to, sometimes they want to make them look powerful and they overdo that, but other times they make them look weaker than what they are, and it's like you don't know how powerful these characters are, and when they do that, it's hard to use it in a battle, because then people can bring up any low-end feat or high-end feat to argue why they think a certain character would win in a fight or another certain character would lose. And that's why I want to make this series, because there's a lot of inconsistencies in Dragon Ball with the power scaling that I've had. There's a lot of times where these characters should have been faster or more stronger, and then their statements or feats, or as we call them, anti-feats, because they're the exact opposite of what a feat is. A feat is supposed to be something crazy powerful, whereas these make them look weaker. These instances, what happen is these characters, we've seen them have a certain level of power and be strong, but then these inconsistencies come in and basically make them look weaker, and then people go with it. And that's why I want to talk about it in this video and just in general. So I'm making quite a bit of videos throughout those. Like I said, I'm gonna do Dragon Ball Super, Z and Super. GT, I might do that if you guys wanted. The only reason I really don't care about it too much is because GT is it's technically not canon, so it doesn't really matter, so who cares about that? But those three are, and they do pertain to the story, and they are what moves along the Dragon Ball story. And when they don't make sense, especially power wise, it comes off as very bad writing or just looking dumb. So I want to go through those stuff and talk about that in general and specifically. So with that all being said, I'm pretty sure I went through it quite a bit, good enough on that. Just know the next videos when I make of this, series, I'm not going to be giving this whole explanation. It was just for this because this is my first video on it. So let's get into the video. Let's talk about the whole 40 tons debacle with Goku. Now, this was used by a lot of, like I said, down players, and it was used by Screw Attack used this to get their gravity formula to multiply Goku's power in his Goku vs Superman fight, but also they use this to cap off Goku's physical strength, and then they multiply this with Super Saiyans, the Super Saiyan transformations. And the problem I have with the 40 tons thing is, let's be honest, Goku's way stronger than that. Even in base, in that time frame where it was, the beginning of the Buu saga, Goku was in his base was definitely stronger than 40 tons. He could definitely lift more than 40 tons. And yes, I know I made a video called strength versus lifting strength versus striking strength, and you should go check it out. It's a very good video. I put some good details in it. But in that video, I basically explained the fact that striking strength and lifting strength are two different things. And obviously in this regard, this is more on the lifting side instead of how powerful he can hit. Just because he could barely lift 40 tons doesn't mean that his max power attack output would be only 40 tons. But even with that being said, I still think it is incorrect and inconsistent. I still think Goku should be able to lift easily way more than 40 tons. Let's be honest, Goku at this point should be way above 40 tons. 40 tons at most, I think, is like 80,000 pounds or over 80,000 pounds. That's like the weight of a semi truck. So basically what they're saying is, if Goku was to carry a semi truck on his back and try to fly with it, he would be struggling unless if he went Super Saiyan 1, which I think is BS. There's a lot of counter arguments people use too for this to, defend this, because like I said, there's people that run with it and try to use it, and then there's people like me who call it out as, bad writing or inconsistency, and try to say this is not something we should take into consideration and just use other feats. But there's also the other fans where they're like, you know what, it's not an inconsistency, it's just that you don't understand, and they try to explain it, and I commend them for that. But let's be honest, no matter how you slice it, this whole thing is just dumb. So let's get into all the arguments for it and why it makes sense. Now, what happened in this, instance was Goku was training with 2 tons around his body each. He had arm bracelets and on his legs, so he was basically like 8 tons. He was training with 8 tons in Otherworld, and King Kai comes there talking about his training is good. South Kai comes and talks about he has his new fighter and he's gonna beat Goku and stuff, and King Kai shows that Goku's way too powerful by trying to like one up him by showing like an impressive feat. So he increases his weights from just 2 tons each to 10 tons each, which would equal to 40 tons, since there was like 4 restraints on Goku. So he does this to Goku. Goku is now falling, he's sinking down. He was flying and he was hovering, and now he starts to slowly descend. And he even says to him, he's like, I can't move around with this much weight, it's too much for me. And then once when he transforms, he's able to do it easily. He says he's a piece of cake. But let's be honest, he shouldn't be struggling to carry 40 tons even in his base. He doesn't need Super Saiyan to do it, especially from what we've seen. Like I said, this would equate to, just a semi-truck. So you're telling me that Goku would struggle to lift up a semi-truck or hold a semi-truck on his back while he's flying? No, he can lift way more than 40 tons. Whales are the biggest creatures on Earth, and they weigh around like 200 tons. So they weigh a couple of times more than the weights Goku's lifting. And if you think about it logically, let's be honest, Goku should be able to lift up a goddamn whale. Are you telling me that Goku would struggle to lift a whale, or a whale would crush him, or he would need, a Super Saiyan 2 or 3 just to be able to lift a whale? I don't think so. I just felt like it was bad writing. But yeah, he did that, and then some people made a couple arguments. One of them was, well, he's in Otherworld, so the gravity's 10 times Earth's, so it wouldn't be 40 tons, it would be 400 tons, so it would make it more impressive. A couple problems with that. One, even if it is 40, it was 10 times Earth's gravity, the problem with that for me is 400 tons is still not that much anyway. Yeah, it's 400 tons is way better than 40 tons, but 400 tons is still, not impressive, especially for what we've seen from these characters. So that doesn't make that much of a good argument anyway. And also the whole, it has 10 times Earth's gravity. It's never been stated that Otherworld has 10 times Earth's gravity. It was stated King Kai's planet and the Kai's planets has 10 times Earth's gravity, but Otherworld has never stated that. So you can also say, well, it's never been stated that Otherworld, since that's where they're on, has 10 times Earth's gravity. So most likely, no, it's just 40 tons. So that is wrong. Another thing people use is, well, he was flying, so the amount of pressure that's applied to you when you're trying to lift up while something's pushing down on you. So he was like going against the force of gravity pushing down on him, which would make it like 2 times harder, or weigh 2 times more. But once again, 2 problems with that. One, I already said with a 10 times multiplier, it still wouldn't be that impressive. So with a 2 times multiplier, Goku shouldn't be struggling. Because if 400 times, 400 tons, if I feel like 400 tons should be still too little, then I'm pretty sure 80 tons is not going to mean anything either. So that argument is already dumb. But also the fact that I'm not going to argue the science of, trying to fly and hold up weight and pushing you down with the gravity. But I do want to say this, that yes, Goku was still floating in the air, but he was descending while it was happening. If he didn't transform to Super Saiyan, he would have touched back down on the ground and not be able to move. He even stated he can't move. So he was just slowly descending. So no, he wasn't going against that pressure. He couldn't fly at all. So that also negates that argument and that fact. So basically it's still just 40 tons, and people who run with the whole 40 tons thing saying it makes sense that you can only lift 40 tons or he only lifts 40 tons is like, no, it does not. We've seen these characters and what they've been able to do, what they've been shown. These characters are way more powerful than 40 tons. And also, it wouldn't even be 40 tons. It would be less than 40 tons because Goku said he couldn't even move in the 40 tons until he went Super Saiyan. So that means 40 tons was past his max. It's like, for example, like somebody doing a bench press and somebody like saying, I can't move 300 pounds. They're trying to bench press 300 pounds and they can't move it. And like, I can't even move it. And somebody's like, well, their max is 300. No, it's not. That's beyond their max. If they were able to do at least one rep and then put it back, then yeah, that would be their max. But the fact that they weren't able to even move it shows that that's beyond their max. So technically, it's not even 40 tons, it's less than 40 tons because Goku couldn't even move. So that means Goku in his base form can't even carry 40 tons. And I know another argument that people make is, well, he's carrying the weights on his body, he's not lifting it. Carrying it, on your body is different. And yeah, there's different constraints on that, especially on the joints and stuff. And that can be harder to because if you carry like 5 or 10 pounds on your wrist, you can feel it more than just lifting 5 to 10 pounds, because I can do reps of 5 to 10 pounds and not feel it. But if I was to have a wristband of 5 to 10 pounds and throw punches or move around, it will hurt. But he wasn't even moving at all. And I want to be honest, they've always had bad, power scaling when it came to that. For example, like when Goku first was training with Master Roshi, Goku and Krillin, they were training with 44-pound turtle shells. And I'll be honest, that's nothing to them. Especially what we saw Goku do. Goku is insanely powerful. You're telling me this guy can break 3 bricks with the tap of his finger, but struggles to carry 44 pounds on his back. And then they had 88 pounds. And then later on, we see Goku with I think 250 pounds of weight when he's fighting against Tien. And they're like, oh my god, this is a lot of weight. Or I think it was Piccolo, but they're like, this is a lot of weight. And they're lifting it up like, oh my god, 50-pound boots. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? You guys are ridiculously strong. You guys could be lifting up buildings and shit. And you're telling me about the fact that you think 250 pounds is impressive. Goku is lifting up giant Piccolo and swinging him around, slamming him, yet 250 pounds was considered impressive, and Krillin was struggling to lift a 50-pound boot. When it comes to that, it's always inconsistent, and I never liked it. And also, we've seen feats of strength that they've shown way more impressive, like going all the way back to Dragon Ball 1. Master Roshi made Krillin and Goku push that boulder. This boulder was huge. It was way bigger than both of them, and Goku and Krillin were able to push it like a couple of I guess you could say inches or feet, but they were able to move it for quite a bit, especially with the dirt backing up. There would be more friction to push it back. And I think I saw a calculation for how much a boulder of that size would weigh. It would weigh around 400 tons or something like that. So to push a boulder like that size, it would require a strength of 450 tons of strength to be able to push a boulder of that mass. And then we've seen other instances like Goku lifting a Bulma's car and tossing it. Now the average car weighs 1 ton or so, 2,000 pounds. Now this one was a smaller car, so we could put it at least half of that. But even if we go by that mathematically in Goku's Goku's multiplier and power increase, it still would be, it would contradict it. For example, let's go with the 1 ton. That would mean that Goku from the beginning, literally the beginning of Dragon Ball to that point where he was struggling with the 40 tons, didn't even get 40 times stronger. Because if a car is 1 ton and that was 40 tons, that means that the amount of strength that Goku would have to get to be able to lift that would be 40 times. And since he couldn't do that, that means he had less than 40 times. So by that logic, you're stating that Goku at that point was 40 times wasn't even 40 times stronger than his kid version when he first showed up in Dragon Ball. That is ridiculous to me, to think that throughout all those Zenkai boosts and the multipliers and fighting different characters, he didn't even get 40 times stronger. And even if you want to make it better by saying the car is probably it's a small car, so it's probably not even a whole ton, is half a ton, it would still mean that Goku wouldn't have even gotten 80 times stronger than him as a kid. And 80 times sounds like a lot, but let's be honest, these guys have gone past 80 times. We've seen them every time they train, they get at least tens of times stronger. So they 80 times should have been way past that. So either way you cut it, by just that feat alone, him lifting that car up, whether you want to say it's 1 ton, meaning that Goku at that point didn't even get 40 times stronger, or you want to say it's half a ton, meaning that Goku didn't get 80 times stronger, which, let's be honest, Goku got way stronger than 40 to 80 times since the beginning of Dragon Ball to all the way towards mostly the end of Dragon Ball Z. It's just BS in my opinion. And then we have other instances where they've been shown to do crazy feats. We've seen where like I stated, Goku picked up giant Piccolo. Piccolo had to be at least 200 feet. He was slamming him down. Piccolo was trying to stomp on him, and he was trying to apply his pressure from his foot onto Goku, and Goku was able to hold it up and throw him. He was able to lift him up and drop him. He was definitely weighing way more than 40 tons. I mean, let's be honest. With Piccolo's weight, he would weigh like at least around like 200 pounds, and with the increase in size, his weight would increase on top of that, so he would weigh more. And even if he didn't weigh his 40 tons, once again, Goku should have gotten way stronger. So even if it would have been at least close enough. But even if it wasn't, it should have been way more powerful than that. We also seen Goku when he was training with Gohan. He lifted up a decent sized boulder with one hand, tossed it very casually. That boulder should at least weigh 10 to 30 tons. So the fact that he can lift up a boulder of that mass and that weight and toss it casually in his base, and now we're saying that he can't even like move around in just 40 tons, is very inconsistent. And this happens all the time. I think the problem with it is whenever Toriyama puts a numerical value to something, it always he makes it, he thinks that it sounds impressive, but it doesn't. Like when he says, 40 tons, it sounds crazy, but Goku should be able to lift more than 40 tons and shouldn't be struggling with that. When you hear like him saying, Snake weighs 1,000,000 kilometers, that's only 625,000 miles, and that is very decently long, but it isn't so long to the point where it's ridiculous. It's like, it is long, like I'm saying, but I feel like the Goku shouldn't have to take that long to be able to go across Snake Way, especially going from the feats. I'll also be making an inconsistency video about Snake Way, because I feel like a lot of people have made these type of videos where they called out the inconsistencies, especially this topic with the 40 tons thing, but I don't think they've ever mentioned what Snake Way. So I'll be making that in another video, but I just want to talk about the 40 tons thing. I just think it's BS. No matter way you cut it, saying 10 times Earth's gravity, 400 tons is still nothing, and that was stated for King Kai's planet, not the afterlife. And then when we talk about the resistance of him flying, once again, that's only 2 times, which I already said 10 times wouldn't be that impressive, so 2 times that wouldn't be anywhere close to impressive, especially due to the fact that he was descending and falling anyway. So that would negate that argument. Also, he couldn't move, so that means his strength would be less than 40 tons. And the fact that we have seen him do feats either close to it or beyond it, especially by just using one of Goku's one of his earlier feats of strength and his lower end of feats of strength, like lifting a car. At most it would be 1 ton, at least it would be half a ton, which would mean Goku would have not even gotten 40 times to 80 times stronger, which, let's be honest, he got way stronger than that from that time, from going from that instance to all the way to the other. So I just feel like it's just bad writing. It's very inconsistent. Goku should not be struggling with lifting 40 tons. He should be lifting more than that. But then again, we've seen this with, throughout all of Dragon Ball. We saw that with Goku and Krillin doing the 44 pounds or 88 pounds or the 250 pounds. Like, that's supposed to be impressive. But from what we've seen, they're way more stronger than that, especially the 250 pounds. I'm like, at this point, Goku should be way stronger than that. The fact that he's acting like carrying 250 pounds on him means anything, it's like, yeah, that means a lot to a human, but it shouldn't mean anything to, a Saiyan. I mean, if you look at military itself, the military people in like the army and stuff, they carry around like 100 pounds to over 100 pounds on them when they go into combat and stuff, and through training. And yeah, it does put a strain on their body, but they're just regular humans. Comparing that to Goku, who's a superpowered being, that should be light work. So the fact that humans can do it to almost to that degree, then he should be able to do it. And also, like I said, whenever Toriyama puts any form of numerical value or numbers when it comes to the character's powers, a lot of times it doesn't really make sense. So I preferred when Toriyama doesn't put numbers in it and just shows it. He's better at showing feats through visuals than through numbers. So that's where I see in that. So whoever used the 40 tons argument, I'm gonna be honest, is inconsistent and it's BS. And if you do use this, then you either don't know much about Dragon Ball or you're a damn player of Dragon Ball, because this is not how strong Goku's consistently. He's way stronger than this. So with that being said, hopefully I ended this whole debate about the 40 tons thing, and we don't have to talk about it ever again. So have a good day.